Hello and welcome back to DIY My Way. If you've been following my progress outfitting the inside of my shop and you saw my last update video, then you know that I plan to put a wood rack on this wall. And if you haven't seen that update video, you probably want to watch that first before watching this video. And I'll put a link to it right here and also in the video description. So when I was considering the wood rack for this wall, I considered either building one myself out of 2x4 material or buying. And since I've got enough projects going on as it is, I decided I would just buy a wood rack kit. So after doing a little research, I settled on this Bora Wood Rack kit, which consists of 2 uprights and 6 levels of storage here. Not really adjustable unless you drill additional holes. They're a fixed width apart. But I decided I would buy 2 of these to cover the span and give the support that I want for the wood that I've planned to put up here.
Here's a brief rundown of the specs. I bought them on Amazon for $64.99. There's a link to them in the description. I bought 2 sets and you'll see why shortly. They are steel construction and powder coated. Each level can support up to 110 pounds, yet the total capacity is listed at 600 pounds in the specs. But in one picture they show the total capacity at 660 pounds, which is more consistent if the per level capacity is 110 pounds. The racks are 41 inches tall and the shelves are 12.5 inches deep. But the usable depth is actually 11.5 inches deep. By the way, they don't provide the usable space between the levels, but it measures 6.25 inches. The rack is wall mounted, but be aware that no screws or anchors are provided. Finally, I did have a few minor installation issues, which I'll cover. I measured down 16 inches from the top of the wall panel, which is where the top of the wood rack vertical supports will be. I mark each stud because I haven't decided which studs they'll go on yet. Also, the reason I'm not mounting them higher is I want to leave room to mount a shelf above them like the one on the back wall of my shop. I put the top of the vertical support right below the marks I made and use a nail to mark the location of the top mounting holes. Here I'm telling you that the included instructions seem fine, completely oblivious that the microphone is not working. The assembly begins by screwing in one of the small Phillips head screws into the lowest small hole on one of the vertical supports. Then take one of the shelf pieces, making sure the notch is on the bottom. And slide it from the top of the vertical support all the way until it's up against the screw. Repeat for the other 5 shelf pieces.
Now, since you probably noticed that these horizontal bars stick back from the vertical bars, they provide these spacers to go between the wall and the vertical bar so that these don't touch the wall.
To attach them to the wall, I used some Spax 1/4 inch by 4 inch flat head lag screws. I got a box of 50 from Home Depot. They even come with a star drive bit. There's a link to them in the video description. First, I drive the screw through the top hole in the vertical support. Then put the spacer on. Then screw it to the wall where I marked and pre-drilled the top mounting hole, but not tight yet. Next, I make sure the vertical support is plumb before marking the locations of the middle and bottom holes. I drill pilot holes like I did for the top hole. Then insert the screws and spacers. then tighten them all up. Before I drill the top hole for the next vertical support, I do a quick level check. Then repeat the process to mount it. With the next set, I make an interesting discovery.
Wow. The holes on this second set for the anchors are not in the same spot as the first. That's why I had to adjust that hole. So beware. Glad I checked that.
In fact, the holes on the second set were about 3/4 of an inch higher on the vertical supports from the first. Maybe the second set came from a different factory. So from here on, the process will be the same as before, but I would soon discover another issue.
If you look along edgewise, you can see the difference between the first set of brackets and the second set of brackets. These sit basically perfectly level, whereas these have a slight angle back toward the wall, like I think they actually should. And I could tell there was a little bit of difference in the way they were packaged inside the box, so it made me think, well, maybe they came from a different factory. And so there's apparently a little bit of different tolerance between the first set that I got and the second set. Now, if you're just buying one set of wood racks, then you really don't have to worry about it. But if you're buying multiples, you want to pay attention to if they're packaged slightly differently, and as I pointed out earlier, if the holes are at slightly different heights along the vertical bar. But I do have a fix to angle this back a little bit more, and that's to take a small piece of flashing. I have no idea what the thickness is. I just had a roll of flashing, cut it into a strip, and then folded it over to be twice its thickness. And actually I need to bend a little, there we go, keep it from falling all the way through. That's it right there. Little piece of flashing doubled over of unknown thickness. I'll measure it and put it in the video some other time. And then slip it right back there. And there we have it. I got my angle. Just about like the others. So I got to make those for these others, and we'll see if we can end up in the same spot.
So that's reading 0.11 inches, but I'll bet it's actually 1/100th of an inch.
So I made a bunch of shims, sometimes using one, sometimes using two, whatever it took to get the same angle. And here's the result. With the shelf pieces slanting backward toward the wall, I can put round stock like PVC pipes and drain pipe and not worry about them rolling off. That will do nicely. It's time to load it up. I chose to use 2 sets because I knew it would have some long material on the racks, and I didn't want any of it to develop a sag on the ends.
So my wood rack is something else I can check off my list of things I want to get done in my shop. And I think it's going to work out great. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please click that like button, leave a comment, and by all means, please subscribe. And if you want to know when I post a new video, click that little bell. And as always, thank you for watching.